Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode, the final episode of 80s Comedy Rewind. And my guest this week, we went all the way back to the beginning, Dan Martin. How you doing today, Dan?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, George?
I'm doing well. All right, so usually we start about why we picked the movie, but before we do that, this week we're going to do it a little different because getting this movie was quite a ride. So I'm just going to have you go through how you obtained your copy of Porky's before I say how I got mine.
All right. So normally, you know me, big Amazon boy. I wasn't gonna. Okay, you always make fun of me for like antiquated technology, right? And you know I've got CDs, I've got tapes, I've got Walkmans.
Yeah, for those who don't remember, he owns a Walkman that he got from New Hampshire.
Yeah, which you call my cry for help.
It's a big cry.
Yeah. So anyway, I have a VCR, but I was like, I'm not gonna do this the Dan Martin way, where I have to get crazy and watch it on VHS because of some nostalgia thing. It's one of my favorite movies, which we'll talk about. But I was like, all right, let me go on Amazon. Let me get this movie. So I go on Amazon. First, I try to stream it because I pay for all this because I don't just have a Walkman, guys. I am also modern. So I'm like, let's just stream it. Let's get it out of the way. What's it going to be, like $4? Who cares? Can't stream it. You can't stream it anywhere. It's not streaming anywhere. So
I have to say, we did discuss this a couple weeks ago, and when we had discussed this, I had checked, and it was streaming on Amazon. You could rent it at that time.
What happened?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay, so then I go to do that, can't do it. I reach out to you. You're like, hey, it's on Hoopla, and I was already there because I had already seen it.
That was on either of our children, by the way. If anyone
no, those are not. That's not my kid.
Random street urchins.
Yeah. Yeah, they were yelling at us on the way out too, on the way in. Anyway, so I live in the slum, and we're at my apartment. So anyway, it's on Hoopla. I go, oh, I already saw that. I'm logging in right now. I have a library card. My library is restricted, so I couldn't.
This is the Woonsocket library, right?
Actually, I have it's Providence Public Libraries.
Oh, okay,
whatever it was, the Rhode Island Ocean State Library card.
Ocean State. Yeah.
That's what it is. I live in Rhode Island. We're the Ocean State. Yeah.
I thought it was like the job lots thing. Sorry.
Well, I mean, Ocean State job lot, Rhode Island. You see them anywhere else? No, you don't. So anyway.
There's one in Mass.
Shut up. So I don't know this. Anyway, couldn't get on Hoopla. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I go to buy it on Amazon, but I needed to watch it because I had Father's Day plans and stuff like that. I needed to watch it Friday night or Saturday, and I couldn't. So I go again on Amazon, and the delivery would have been pushed out too far. So I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? So I reached out. We're going to give a big shout out here. I reached out to my boy at Black Lodge Collectibles. It's a shop in Cranston, Rhode Island. Make a trek. It's a little shop. It's like a bedroom-sized shop. It's very small, but they have very cool things, like anything from collectible posters, tapes, VHS. I got a Beastie Boys VHS there once. I got some cool figures there. I'm telling you, man, I've gotten some vinyl, some records there. They hate it when you call it vinyl. But yeah, I got some cool stuff there. Anyway, I reached out to Derek at Black Lodge Collectibles in Cranston, on Broad Street in Cranston, Rhode Island, and he was like, I don't know. He's like, let me just check because they have like a bunch of stock. So he went into the stock or whatever. He pulled out the VHS, which I wasn't gonna do, and he was like, give us a shout out, and it's on the house. So here's your shout out, Derek, Black Lodge Collectibles. I got a VHS of it. That's the long story longer, and I watched it on Friday night. Saturday night. Sorry.
My story is slightly similar to Dan's.
Oh no.
I also saw it on Hoopla, but the Worcester Library will let you rent this movie.
Oh.
So, for some reason, I guess I thought it was Woonsocket, but I guess Providence, I can understand why they'd be like, no, Porky's. But my local library would let me rent online this movie, so that's how I was able to watch it.
Oh, nice. All right, so you got to stream it.
So I got to stream it, yes. I did get to see this. I don't know how I feel about that. We'll get to that in a minute. Yes, and I mentioned that this is the final episode, and this kind of demonstrates one of the reasons why it is hard to find some of these movies. Insanely hard, I feel like. I don't understand why. I rent most of them on Amazon, but sometimes it's like Spinal Tap was like impossible to find as well. So it's just like it's taking too much time of my life to try to find these movies and watch them. And so as much as I enjoy having conversations with the other comics, that is one of the big reasons why I'm ending it. But anyway, before that happens, we're gonna talk about Porky's and why Dan recommended this and why he hates me and recommended that I watch this movie. So take it away.
Oh no! First of all, I love you, which is why
That's a weird way of showing it.
so that I do actually. So it's a hateful way. No, but I do. I love you. I recommended this movie because when I was a little baby Daniel, it predates me, so I didn't see it till I was a little older, but because I was a baby when it came out. But I did see it in the I saw it in the early 90s when I was probably like 11. I was 91, 92. 91 was like my awakening, because 91 was like Nirvana and like punk rock and figuring out what I was like 11. That was like my awakening.
You're like the only person I've ever heard refer to their awakening as Nirvana and Porky's.
Well, I was like that kind of shit. Like, so I really like that kind of stuff. But I really like, well, actually when I was younger, like first movie I saw. I'll give you a clue into this fucking brain. One of the first horror movies that I ever saw in the theater was a horror movie. Was 1987. I was turning 7. It was my birthday, and I really wanted to see Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warrior in the theater. And I had a birthday party. Nobody came. Right? Nobody came to my birthday party. Like literally no one. It was like a fucking 80s movie. No one came to my birthday party. It was 1987. My mom called this woman Pat, who she was friends with, had a son, and her son and I hated him. He was my bully. My mom. So my mom called. It was like, you got to bring your son over. So she brings.
We'll have somebody to go see it.
So she brings this kid over who I hate, who picks on me relentlessly, and then we were forced to go see Nightmare on Elm Street 3 in the theater together. One of the first movies I saw in the theater. He peed himself, and I had the best time ever. I was like, not only do I love movies, I love horror movies. And my bully pissed himself.
Alright. That is a good story that has a heartwarming sort of ending.
And a pants-warming ending.
A pants-warming ending.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I like that it has a little twist there. I still don't know how that has anything to do with Porky.
It just kind of
appreciate it's a good story.
So it created this for me. It was that movie, and then the second movie I remember seeing in the theater was the following 88 was Child's Play, and then so I kind of developed this love for like dark comedy, because horror comedy, raunchy stuff. Also, one of my favorite comedians, Rodney Dangerfield. Dice Clay when I was younger for some fucking reason. Don't want to justify that, but I liked it.
Dice Clay was very big in the 80s.
Very big in the 80s.
No good reason.
No apparent reason. So
does that stick too? It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. So and then just going forward, like I would get into that kind of stuff. So for me, Porky's was, when I saw it, the best. It had I was 11. It had boobs. It had bush. It had raunchy jokes. You know what I mean? When you're 11, I was, I was a straight 11-year-old at that point. So, anyway, it was just one of those movies. And then I realized, as I got older, there were things that tried to recapture it. Didn't work. Like American Pie. I didn't like American Pie. I still don't. But then I realized that a lot of the stuff that happened in Porky's, that was the first time you were seeing that stuff then. So now it might be kind of like, dated or whatever. But it just became one of my favorite things, because it was just like, when you're 11, then you're hearing jokes like that. Like there's a part in the beginning of the movie, I guess we'll talk about it in a little while, that I thought for the longest time was from something else. But I didn't realize how much Porky's influenced everything after it. But it was one of those movies. So I don't know.
I guess I do have to say that, yeah, I had never seen this movie until, this week. So, and I had seen, American Pie and a lot of the other movies that were kind of, that were definitely influenced by it. So I could kind of see where, I guess if this was the original, and if I had watched this, 11, I probably would have really enjoyed it. So
right.
I think that's my problem, is that I'm too old and I've seen other things.
Exactly.
So,
it's like
you're 11 and you're listening to this.
No! No. 91 was a different time. I saw the Toxic Avenger on USA when I was 8. You shouldn't be doing that stuff. 88, 87, going to the movies with your bully, picking them. No one's doing that anymore, guys. Traumatize your kids. That's what.
Dude, preteens are our biggest listeners, though.
Where are they?
80s movies.
Where are they getting the VHS? Where are they getting the money to stream these movies?
Don't ask these questions. I'm just happy that they do.
So,
their audience.
All right, man. So get into it.
All right. One of the things that I did find interesting is I had no idea that this didn't take place in the 80s but took place in the 50s.
You didn't know that?
I had no idea. So I was really confused right from the off.
That was another crazy thing it's not that I forgot about that part, but it was it took place in the 50s, right? And obviously back in the 80s, it was the thing to have older people play teens. These teens were 45 years old.
They were very old. No, that was a problem too, because I was trying to figure out who were supposed to be the teens and who were supposed to be the adults, and that was.
They all look the same age.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that was an issue. What else?
Gotta suspend disbelief, though.
Yeah, there was definitely an amount of suspension of disbelief. I was so this is trying to be a more realistic version of Grease. Okay, I could.
That was another weird thing. Was the anti-Semitism subplot?
Oh yeah, that was the racism, the anti-Semitism, just blatant.
I don't know if we're gonna get into it later. There was a part where they were at that dance. I guess we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, you go ahead. I got some notes.
God.
Yeah.
When in the beginning, I was just all right, this is weird, and then they decide to hire a black guy. I'm what is this? What is
For a prank.
For a prank.
However, that was a funny prank because what? So what they do is everyone's trying to get laid in the movie, just like American Pie, right?
Yeah.
So two of the kids decide they're going to get everyone to come along to this hooker, and then they're gonna have their friends strip down naked and wait for her. They tell them that she needs to see you naked. She could just tell if you have a disease or not. They get them all to strip and sit in this room, and then they go in the other room and pretend to have sex with her. And they hire a black guy to come in with a machete.
And they made sure that he had gold teeth too, just because I guess that was part of the character.
I mean, you know what I mean though? He was a DEI. He was a diversity hire. They got him in there.
Only black character in the entire movie.
But he's in on the joke.
Yeah, I mean that is true.
So he's in the room with them. He's laughing with them. He's in on the joke.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's there to play with that. It's not racist in that way, which I thought was cool. It's not till later with the anti-Semitism that.
And that, I mean, we'll get to that in a minute. I think I had watched American Pie and a lot of those movies, and I don't remember any of them trying to be all right, we're all gonna have sex with the same girl. I don't know why, that just kind of squicked me out.
Except for maybe Stifler's mom. I don't really.
Maybe Stifler's mom, but it wasn't all right, I'm gonna go at 3:10. You're gonna go at 3:15 or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. They did have the line of who's gonna go when.
It was,
yeah.
I don't know. I was a teenager, not in the 50s. I could remember being all right, I want to have sex, but I don't think I ever remember my friends and I being like, all right, we're going to pool all our resources.
Also,
we're going to bang this one chick. It's going to be awesome.
It also seemed like they could have just banged the female students.
Yeah.
Because they end up banging all the female students. And, spoiler alert, everyone's having sex with everyone by the end.
But it's also like, I think there's also the problem, like we mentioned, of the ages that gets into it. Because the prostitute that they hire and the students both seem like the same age. So it doesn't...
I thought the pranks, like the whole movie was them playing pranks on each other, which is the kind of movie it is. Yeah. But I thought the pranks were like way more grounded and funny in that way, as opposed to like American Pie. It's like, oh, I made everyone eat cum, To
be fair, I haven't watched American Pie in a while. So.
But some of the stuff, you know what I mean, was just like gross. It's like gross out versus a written joke.
It was interesting because one of the thoughts I had was watching it was I was like, all right, this is kind of very similar to Grease because it's like, Grease is like the 70s, but takes place, back in the, and this is the 80s, it takes place back in the 50s. So it was very similar in that way. And I was like, all right, this is kind of a more realistic Grease because these guys are stupid in the way regular people are. Like, they're just not creative or interesting, like, in the way that, like, normal dumb people are. So I was like, I can appreciate that on the level. And the fact that the guy who made this, like, spent 15 years, like, getting different stories from his friends to make this movie is a little bit horrifying, but I can also see it as I watch this movie.
That is kind of what I liked about it, is that it just seemed like it could happen. Like when I was watching as a kid, I was like, this seems normal.
Seems normal to you.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you watch American Pie and it's like, that kind of stuff. It's funny, but it's one of those things where they get a little bit what do you call it? They stretch it, and it's funny because it's
more of a movie than this.
Yeah, more of a movie. Yeah. Exactly. This is like a documentary.
One of the other things that I was not prepared for was how much of like the corrupt Southern sheriff.
Yeah.
This movie.
Yeah.
Because I was prepared for like an American Pie. All right, they're in this school. They're trying to have sex. Whatever. There's teachers who were trying to have sex too. Like, I was prepared for all that. But then once they went to the whorehouse and ended up with the corrupt sheriff and all that, I was like, this is a whole different movie than I thought it was.
So that was another crazy thing for me too, watching it now, because I will say that I am watching it with a different lens than I did when I was younger. And I watched it as a young adult too. Like, I've seen it, I don't know, the last time I watched it was probably over 10 years ago though, because I used to have a pretty substantial VHS collection that I sold when, it was just too much to carry around.
For a second, not to be kicked down, but I thought you were going to say I lost Porky's in the divorce.
No! I wish! You have to liquidate Porky's, buddy. No, I sold off my VHS a long time ago, and it was one of those things where it's like, I'll rebuy things on DVD. I just never rebought the movie. So anyway, but I watched it like
prior. Like you missed your chance.
Yeah, right. So anyway, but I have watched it as an adult. But I haven't watched it in probably since before I got married, which was like, and then I've been divorced. It's been over 11, 12. Well, going on 12, more than 12 years I've seen this movie. So I did watch.
Before I got married, like you were like, all right, the night before I get married, I
gotta watch Porky's. I gotta see the unbridled bush through the hole in the shower. So anyway, whatever. So I did watch it through a different lens at this point, but I didn't like. Okay, so there's this whorehouse. The titular whorehouse. Right? And it's over county lines. So there's these, was it Angel Beach? Is that where they're from?
Yeah, they're from Angel Beach, Florida. I guess is a ritzy area. I have no idea.
All right. So the teens are in Angel Beach, and then they have to cross into the swamps. Literally, this like celebration to go to the whorehouse. Now, this is a morally corrupt whorehouse, right? With a crazy, corrupt sheriff who lets things happen. They let the kids in. right? They're like, they show him fake IDs. The guy's like, I don't care, just buy drinks. And he lets him in, right? And they do it. They buy drinks and they do that. And then they, they ask for Porky and they ask to buy whores. And then that's the line? Like, and that's when Porky's like, I'm going to get him. So...
Just to backtrack for 1 second, one of the ways I like that they made this like, oh, this is a seedy whorehouse, is there's a midget.
It's several midgets who, I guess, it's their job to take the drunk people out in wheelbarrows. Did you notice that little subplot? I didn't mean little subplot. You know what I mean? Yeah, the midgets were always. I don't know if we should say that word, but the
little people. I don't know what the correct term is.
I don't know. Vertically challenged. They're pushing. They're always pushing a drunk person around in a wheelbarrow and tossing them out. It's happening the whole time.
That's what's sort of weird about this movie. Is things like that happening in the background.
They're like whorehouse.
Like, what's going on?
They're like whorehouse Oompa Loompas. Like in the chocolate factory, they're pushing around they got the sugar. They put the sugar in the thing. These guys always have drunks wheelbarrows.
Those poor guys. Some of them were probably in Willy Wonka, and they're like, "Oh, well, this is my next movie."
What do you get when you drink too much booze? You lose. Anyway, so they that happens. The Oompa Loompas. But I thought that was interesting. I was like, everybody in this whole town and county, everyone's just doing shtick. The whole world, everyone's playing pranks on each other. So, yeah. So, Porky takes their money, $100 for 3 hookers.
And see, I don't know what the conversion rate, and I never looked it up, but I think one of the reasons he was mad was, like, that did seem a little low.
Yeah.
I mean, once again.
They're kids.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Just be like, I'll give you 1 hooker for one of you for 5 minutes for $100. Be honest. Be a businessman. But no, this degenerate, this low-life fat bastard, takes their money, makes them go into a dark room that, lo and behold, has a trap door. And he's like, you ready for your good time? And he, like, opens the trap door. They all fall into the swamp. And then all of the other stuff with Porky happens off camera, right?
Yeah.
Because
like they didn't have enough money to shoot.
Everyone else is ready to move on, except for one kid, whose brother is the sheriff of Angel Beach, and Porky's brother is the sheriff of the swamp town. He's the sheriff of the whorehouse swamp, right? Yeah. So you have they didn't really get into that, where it's like good brother, good sheriff, bad brother, bad sheriff. They didn't really get into that whole beef. And then the good kid with the good brother sheriff, he always goes off camera and goes back to Porky's to threaten him, to fight him, and then comes back with injuries, broken ribs, smashed up face. That all happens off camera. Meanwhile, everybody's like running around pulling each other's dicks and playing pranks on each other.
It's a little weird. Yeah, it's like, it's almost as if there was a low grade, like, Martin Scorsese movie happening, starring the characters from American Pie.
Yeah, but the Scorsese was Hitchcock because it was all off camera. There's a great movie happening back there. Roadhouse is happening off camera.
See, I think one of the problems that we're having about this movie is that you're on the side of the children, and I am more on Porky's side.
You're on Porky's side.
So, like, these degenerates come into this man's business. They insult him. They try to lowball him.
So
they
between
make him feel bad. They
between the Angel Beach teenagers and the actual pimp, the kids are the degenerates. George.
Once again, the degenerate children come up with the plan to pay. Like Porky's not like, what are you $5 five of you for $25 or what? I think it's like 100 or whatever. Like
Yeah.
he tries to like be like, you guys are being completely unreasonable, and the children do not understand this and try to be more obnoxious about it and just treat him like a jerk.
They are children.
They are children, yes.
He was.
All right, okay. The problem is that they're 45-year-olds, so it's like very evenly balanced.
I wrote this down. I wrote this joke down where it's at the beginning when we talked about the when they get the whore, and the two kids are like, one of the kids is like, "Did you get the girl?" And he goes, "Does a fat dog fart?" I wrote that down because I said that so much when I was younger, and I didn't know what it was from.
I feel like there's gonna be a point where somebody's like, "Dan, what's your trauma?" And you're like, "When I was 11, I watched the movie Porky." And they're just gonna be like, "All right, we understand now."
I have
where that came
I
from.
have so much real trauma before that I don't even know where to begin. But there was another thing where at the beginning of the movie, since we already passed that, I want to go back to this. At the beginning, there's that. It starts with that radio where it's like, get up, you sleepyheads, get up, get out of bed." I thought for the longest time, I say it a lot. I say it when I wake up in the morning sometimes. And I thought it was from Groundhog Day. So I forgot all about where that came from. That's it.
I feel like as a comic, mentioning this movie in the same breath as Groundhog Day is blasphemy. But
You think so?
Yeah.
Groundhog Day is a good movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie. You know what's not a good movie?
Porky's? How about after the radio says that the adult child flips over onto his own boner, and then he still measures it with a straight ruler, and he's like, "Oh, it's getting smaller."
Once again, I was a teenager. I never pulled out a ruler to measure.
No, what'd you use? What did you use?
I never measured.
Oh, it's probably good for your wife. You're still married, so I measured. I'm divorced.
We found the secret. That was what it was.
Guys, don't measure your dicks. Not if you want to keep that relationship.
It's very important the 11-year-olds know that.
Jesus. Okay. I don't know what else to do.
All right, I think I'm gonna switch and be more positive about parts of this movie because I didn't hate the whole thing.
You didn't, yeah? Did you? You didn't like some of the jokes were like kind of like, you know what I mean?
What I really like,
Straightforward.
and I think this is interesting because this is like what we kind of talked about the last episode, at least from what I remember of it, because it's been a while since I listened to it. Is I did like Kim Cattrall. I thought that her character was really
Yeah, she was again another nice bookend for us because she was in Big Trouble in Little China. That's a movie I didn't see, and this is a movie you didn't see. So now it's interesting. But anyway, yeah, she was.
I made you watch a good movie, and you made me watch Porky's.
All right, calm down. Porky's is a good movie. I will say my rating probably has changed since I was, even 12 years ago. I was in my 30s. Nope. 12 years ago. 30. Yep.
Dying to hear what you think about this movie on your deathbed.
I don't. I have nostalgia for it, so I'm still gonna give it like 4 out of 5 stars. I think. No, probably 3 now. No, but I just really enjoyed it, and a lot of the jokes in the movie you've heard a million times, but you've heard them a million times since. You didn't hear them a million times when they were in the movie. A lot of comedies these days, especially American Pie, things like that, you've heard those jokes a million times before that movie was made. The writers phoned a lot of that shit in. We're gonna have him fuck a pie, like, man. But like, and that might have been original to that movie, probably. But the jokes, you know what I mean? The writing. This was a movie for me where it was like I was hearing that stuff for the first time as a kid. So obviously, and I haven't heard it. I've heard it since, but not before. So that's why. I mean, now you watched it for the first time as an adult.
Yeah.
You saw it coming, probably.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure if I had seen this movie at 11, which I didn't because I had real parents.
Shut up. I didn't. I don't know why I defended that. I did not have real parents. I did not come from a loving home. My home was fucked. So I'm sorry, George. You're right. I don't mean to. I'm not defending my childhood at all. Can't be done. In fact, I have a Walkman now because probably sold mine for drugs when I had a real one. So there you go.
But anyway, I liked Kim Cattrall.
You mean Lassie?
Yes, Lassie. Because I was like, I was kind of interested. I'm like, yes, as the other guy was talking, why did they call her Lassie? And one of the things that I really did enjoy about, I really did think that it was funny, the voice that she did when they went up into the rafters and had sex. The sounds that she was making did make me laugh, so I did appreciate that.
It was funny, and it was funny, and then the coach shoving the dirty jockstrap in her mouth, and then also kissing it. It's kind of weird.
It was weird. One of the things that interested me too about that is like, because the woman, the ball buster,
bow breaker, but they called her ball buster. Yeah.
She was talking to Kim Cattrall about how, like, I'm gonna get you fired for moral turpitude.
Yeah.
And I did like turpitude. And so she says, and then the guy comes down after having sex with her, and the older coach, or the coach who's been there a long time, is like, all right, we're going to have to get a new coach again.
Yeah.
Implying that this happens all the time.
Well, that's because the other coach, the younger of the two older coaches, who was laughing, he's like, gas, or whatever, he's like laughing. He was saying, like, you'll find out. Everyone knows she's been doing this. Bowbreaker's had it with her. She fucks all the young coaches.
But I find it's interesting. I thought it was interesting that what they do is they fire the guys, and like nothing, like, which I guess is almost progressive.
Very sex positive.
Very sex positive. They're like, these guys are obviously taking advantage of Kim Cattrall and having sex with her, and they need to go.
Yeah. Yeah, Miss Bowbreaker loses her mind over the penis, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
She ends up getting fired for moral inturpitude. Does she,
or does she? I don't know.
She gets arrested at the end. I don't know if she gets.
At the end,
yeah, she gets arrested. Yeah.
Yes.
She's like, "Give me that dick! I know that dick! I know it anywhere!" And she jumps on him and pulls his pants down.
I wasn't thinking so much of the end. I was thinking.
The end. That's just a sex parade or whatever. They drive back to the county line and they got the marching band and the police.
Poor Wendy. I just feel bad for that poor girl.
And she liked it. Remember Porky finally gives it to her, and then she pulls him back in to the bus with her hand. So she.
Pee-wee?
Yeah. What did I say?
You call him Porky?
Oops. Pee-wee.
Pee-wee.
Same thing. Matt, it would be cool if Porky ended up fucking.
Only because the actors are the same age. It would not have been cool if the old man with the teenager.
The only way they show an age difference is they have some of the characters be fat, and those are older people.
Yes, because when you get older,
they're the same age, but one's fat, so he's playing the older character.
I do feel like at the end where they're like. Where Porky chases him onto the Angel Beach, and then the way that they deal with the corrupt sheriff is like, oh, you have a corrupt sheriff? We have a corrupt sheriff as well.
Yeah.
And our corrupt sheriff is gonna do his corrupt stuff.
No, well, he just gave him a taste of his medicine, right? Because that sheriff isn't really corrupt. He was just doing that to him. Yeah, and he shot the shit out of his car. Yeah.
The way to solve police brutality is more police brutality.
That sounds like a real world issue. But just another joke. I thought the jokes were good. Like, you tell me, like, when they're at Porky's, they're at the strip club, and she's like, one of the strippers is like, "Do you want to see him?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like her boobs. Like, "You want to see my boobs?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she goes, "2." And he goes, "Yeah, let's see both of them." That's hilarious. And he goes, "No, it's $2." You didn't think that was funny? Don't drink water right now, you son of a bitch.
It's a good mason jar that I'm drinking water out of right now.
Whatever, it's cheap glass. No, but I thought that was jokes like that are funny to me, and especially when you're 11. But yeah, you know what I mean. Like the writing is just better. Shut up. I hate you.
I understand that this movie feels like it was written by 11-year-olds. You're right. You definitely proved that point.
I would. You know what? If Porky's existed today, I would go. I would go to a place like that.
I don't think the point of this movie is that Porky's is a good place.
I'd still go.
As much as I'm like down with like anti-degenerate children,
dude.
I don't think Porky's
strippers, line dancing, midgets pushing drunk people around in wheelbarrows, trapdoors over a swamp.
I did like the trapdoor just because that seemed like a little kid thing. Like, you know, it's almost like the John Mulaney thing about quicksand being everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like, trapdoors, like, for a kid, I thought that you were going to see a lot more trapdoors. So I did appreciate that, even though it was like by a grown man. So I don't necessarily know if he'd have a trapdoor.
Yeah. Also,
you're line dancing, are you?
Well, no, but I just also
throw something in there.
Also, was this movie was this movie the origin of the Mike Hunt joke?
I don't know, maybe. Could be. Because
remember they prank Wendy at her job and ask for Mike Hunt?
I think that, just to give you a little bit, I do think that I didn't necessarily find that funny, but I have heard like the Michael Hunt thing like so many times in so many other places that I think that probably diluted the impact for me. So I think if the first time I had heard that, I probably would have enjoyed it.
No one was hearing that in the like that was brand new to us. You know, in '91, I was like, Mike Hunt! Oh my God, I have a new weapon.
You think the bully beat himself before? Just wait.
Also, we did have a Michael Hunt in my high school. We did.
Oh God.
And no one called him that except for the teachers called him Michael all the time. True story.
Even the teachers do. They're like, oh my God.
But I just feel like that joke came from that movie. Or at least they pointed it out because I'd never heard it before then. I've heard it since then.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah, there's some stuff that seems to have permeated the culture there from Porky's. Not that it's culturally relevant.
I do feel like, once again, I hate to be like the defender of like the employer of the sadistic, brutal sheriff. But I do think like Porky, like, you know, it wasn't good that he, you know, had those kids get dunked by all that water. But I don't necessarily know if he deserved to have his entire establishment destroyed.
Well, in the Scorsese film that was happening behind the scenes, he beat the shit out of that kid so many times. Like, the kid would go back for revenge, and they would break his ribs, bust his nose, put him in the hospital like 3 times. Remember, he came back at one point, he's outside the burger joint, and he's just in his car, his car's on, it's just going back and forth, and he's laying bleeding on the dashboard, like...
I think the problem with it, you're probably right.
I am right.
if we had seen the brutality more, but it feels like there's a weird sort of like high school sex comedy, and then it's like, oh, by the way, this kid's in the hospital again. Hey, you want to go see some titties? Yeah, guys, let's go do that. Like, they don't necessarily take it very seriously.
They don't. They don't.
So that makes us not take it quite as seriously because the characters don't care enough about this poor kid.
That is where it loses a star for me, because there's stuff happening that like isn't happening, and the A story is not as interesting as the B story, you know. And so, and it was the same thing with the anti-Semitism. You got the Jewish kid who's constantly being harassed by the white kid who's calling him slurs,
Yeah.
and then you find out it's because his dad is an actual like skinhead type dude, like biker, racist. He beats the crap out of him. So there's this like child abuse storyline, even though it's two full-grown men hitting each other.
I almost thought the son looked younger than his dad, which was a problem.
The son should be younger than his dad.
Well, I mean, sorry, that was You're right. That should be how that works.
Yeah. But yeah, so that some of the stories, like there's some real dark stuff going on, which I liked, but it was undercut by all of the other silly shit. But there are some things like I said, some of the writing. I know you didn't like the joke about the tits, but the Mike Hunt joke. There was another one where it's like kind of reminded me of that style of jokes. Like there's that joke in Demolition Man where it's like, how do you use the seashells? You know that whole thing. But there's a joke in this movie where I think it's Pee-wee. He's like, yeah, all you need is a watermelon and 2 jelly donuts. What is he talking about? Is that the predecessor to the pie fucking? Are they making a woman out of a watermelon and 2 jelly donuts? Like what?
I tried not to ask those questions. One of the things I do want to talk about, the anti-Semitism thing to me was interesting because he uses a whole bunch of words that nobody should use.
Right.
Like, and back in the day, like nowadays, it's like bad characters can't even use bad words anymore.
Right.
They were just the way the society has evolved, probably for the better.
Yeah.
But so
probably he says, I don't know. I'm no.
Well, I mean, like, because you're like, all right. You can show bad people being bad. Like, should bad characters be able to use bad words if they're, to show that they're bad or whatever? And that's a discussion we can have.
Yeah.
One of the things, so that was a little bit taken back. Like, oh my God, they're really saying those things, and it's interesting because, like you said, the dad is a worse racist and anti-Semite. And then they just kind of become, like, okay. And I was like, all right, that's kind of... I don't know. Like, I liked the fact that they became friends, but I also felt like it was just too easy.
They didn't become friends. There's a story arc there, though, because I don't think it was easy. But I think the thing... So for me... Okay. The kid was using the wrong word. Right? He was calling him a kite. Right? And then the Jewish kid...
For those who don't notice, this is basically the anti-Semitism version of Biff Tanner from Back to the Future.
Which I thought was brilliant, because here's a kid who's being pressured by his racist dad to be more racist, and he doesn't know... When you're a kid, you don't know how to be in the world, right? And so he's getting beat up at home, and he has all this pressure. It's the 1950s. He's like 75. He's in the 11th grade. But he's, and so he's dealing with that, and then he's trying to hate the one Jewish person he knows because he doesn't know how to be. And I thought that was a nice touch that he was like, and then he had the wrong word, and the Jewish kid corrects him, and then they fight, and then the Kavanaugh is the racist kid, and I forget the Jewish boy's name. Brian. Steen. It was Brian. I remember that part. So, but Brian's a good fighter because he's learned. There was some good writing in there. It's in there, George, where the kid, he has learned to defend himself. He's learned to take the power back on the words. He beats the crap out of him, right? Well, he does for a way, and then they become friends. He kind of like figures out this is not a bad kid. There's something else going on, and the dad shows up. Brian gets to see it, and there's a character arc there. I like that. I thought that was cool.
You've made me look at this movie in a whole new way.
Did I really?
No.
No.
Not at all.
You son of a bitch.
Not at all.
There's a character arc there, man. And you get to see...
Basic yes, the racist kid becomes not racist.
Yeah, but it's a simpler time, It was 81 this movie came out? When did it come out?
Like that. I felt like...
I was 1. I didn't see it till I was double 1. All right?
Yes, I understand. 11. I'm not yelling at 11-year-old Dan. He's not in front of me right now. I can't. Like, he's going through some stuff.
That's true.
That.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like him watching Porky's is not the worst thing that happened to him that day.
It's not.
So,
It's not.
I'm trying to be a little nice to poor little Dan who just wants to watch a little movie and enjoy it. So I'm not.
But I think as far as like rewatching it for the nostalgia and remembering that time and appreciating some of those things, is like remembering this was the first time I saw it then, even if I've seen some of the things a million times. Another good example is I didn't see Blazing Saddles until about 2 months ago. A friend of mine actually like bought a Blu-ray of it and left it with another friend of mine and was like, the next time you see Dan, give him this fucking movie. It wasn't even a direct present. It was like, how have you not? So
if you say, oh, Blazing Saddles is just like Porky's, I'm cutting your mic right
that's
now.
not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is I know Blazing Saddles from the zeitgeist. I know all the jokes. I've heard all the jokes 6 million times. I know what it's about. I probably could have recited the movie before I've seen it, but I never saw it. You know what I mean? But I loved every second of it still. And for me, Porky's might not have been that way if I watched it for the first time at your age. I don't know if it would have been, but it seems similar in that regard where I've heard and seen all those things a billion different ways, but I still, when I watch it, can feel like it's the first time again. So
what you're saying is if people exist in the culture, they don't need to watch Porky's.
I guess that's what I'm saying. That's not what I want to say.
If you've seen a movie that's come out in the last 20 years, you do not need to see the movie.
I feel. No, it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it withstands the test of time, and you should see it once. At least see it once, because I will. You know what? I will buy you a copy.
Yeah, good luck with that. We established that it's so difficult. I feel like the universe is taking this movie out of existence.
You could get the Porky's 3-pack for like $11. $11, 11-year-old Dan. There you go.
I'm not in favor of banning books, but if somebody was banning Porky's, I'd think about it.
And I'm gonna tell you a line where the movie lost me. Can I do that? Can I point out a line where the movie lost me? Now, since I've been giving it so much love.
You can definitely do that. I can do the line where it lost me. It was a lot earlier.
Was it?
It was the Porky sign. But anyway.
Oh God, the sign! I love that sign, dude. No, but there's a line where, okay, and this is where I'm like, I don't know if this is a well-meaning line, but no, I don't think it means. So there's when Kavanaugh finally like faces his dad, and I think it's the coach who punches him out, and he's like laying on the ground. Brian's like, not Brian. Brian's the Jewish boy. Kavanaugh, the racist. He's like, if being a man means being what you are, I'd rather be queer. And I'm like, that's not it, man. Like, that's not what that means.
Everything that happened before that, you were like, all right, that's cool.
Well, it's just that one line. It's like that one line where I'm like, he still doesn't, like, I talked about character arc and it's there, but it's like, no, you don't get it yet.
I feel in a weird place because I feel like I'm almost defending part of Porky's, but I feel like that line, like it's you're right. It's the 80s, so you gotta think about that a little bit.
It's the 50s.
It's the
in the 80s.
Made in the 80s though, so I feel like it's different. Like
yeah.
So it was made in the 80s, so they threw around words like that. I think that almost showed that he wasn't quite as evolved. He's still working on himself. He's not quite as evolved.
Yeah, within the 5 seconds that he redeemed himself. So I'm going to I'm going to say that was where I was kind of like, and there was obviously other lines where I'm like, maybe it loses a point for me. Still solid flick.
And on that note, I can talk to you about this movie for hours with me just saying it's horrible and you just going, no, you're wrong. It's a great masterpiece. Not since Citizen Kane has there been a movie that's amazing.
I've gone from 5 11-year-old stars to 3 adult stars. Is that not enough for you?
I just wish we had time to get down to the 1 star that this movie deserves. But, alright. I'm gonna give you your final shot. Would you recommend this movie?
I already recommended it to you, and I'm regretting every second of it. Okay, it's like I said earlier. If you're prepared to hear some words that make you uncomfortable, there are some jokes in there. If you've never seen this movie, there are some jokes in there that you'll see, and you'll go, "Oh my god!" Like, that's really, you'll laugh. You will laugh. There's a lot of stuff in there that's fun and to me, it's organically funny. Like, that's what I liked about it, is it was simpler. It didn't need to be too gross out. Like, even some of the more, like, higher up pranks with the fake blood, it's not gross out. It's still funny. And the black guy was in on the joke, and it's just, there's some good stuff in there. I would recommend it if you're a person who likes comedy. Like comedy movies, and you like those types of movies, this is one that you should have seen, and it will kind of give you kind of an insight into that type of film. So yeah, I would recommend it it's a very niche recommendation though. You have to want, like, if you're, you know what, fuck you. If you're out there and you're like, I love American Pie, I love the Scary Movie franchise, these are movies I don't like. If you are into gross out humor, watch this movie. Because if you're a Scary Movie fan, you watched what? A guy get stuck to the ceiling with cum? If you're an American Pie fan, you watched a homeboy fuck a pie, you watched people eat cum filled eclairs. You've seen some shit. And if I'm spoiling these movies for you, I'm so sorry. But watch this movie. If you're into that type of movie, yes, I do recommend it. I don't recommend, however, if you're 11, I don't recommend you just traumatize yourself, okay? I have a daughter. She's 18. I did not make her watch Porky's at all, ever, yet. I'm not going to. And I don't recommend you do it either.
I would say, if you're tired of watching good movies,
you have nothing good to say about this movie. You don't at least agree that, like, there's some origin stuff there for this type of genre?
It's always nice when somebody takes something and makes something better with it. That's what I will say.
There it is. There it is. Also, this isn't the opposite of... I liked Big Trouble in Little China. And so did you.
Yeah.
It wasn't like... This isn't the opposite of that, by the way. No.
Only in the fact that on my turn, I recommended a good movie.
Yeah.
And on your turn, you recommended Porky's. So, I guess in that way, it's the opposite.
I mean, as far as... I could have recommended just one of the guys. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen that. I did an episode of that on this podcast. Not a good movie. A better movie, though.
Better than Porky's.
Better than Porky's.
Okay, well, we can't. We gotta end this.
If people want to find you and yell at you for reflecting this movie on...
I'm sorry, but the whole climax of just one of the guys, I know you already did this movie, is they kiss at the dance, and it looks like a boy is kissing a boy, and someone goes, "It's alright, he's got tits." I'm just saying. Not better. If you want...
Good.
If you want to find me and yell at me, I am available to be yelled at online. Dan Martin Comedy on Instagram, YouTube. You can watch my special on YouTube, Dan Martin Comedy. It's called Raw Truth. You can find me just Dan Martin Comedy any platform except for I'm not on like X or whatever it's called. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, Dan Martin Comedy.
Thank you very much, Dan. This has been a lot of fun, unlike Porky's.
You just get twist the knife.
I can't. I can't. So, this is the final episode of the podcast. I hope you find something good to do with your time. Better than Porky's. Anyway.
Yeah, watch Porky's 2 and 3. Available on DVD. I haven't seen the sequels, by the way.
Yeah, I'm ending this. One of the reasons this podcast is ending is because there's not a lot of quality movies left, as evidenced by Porky's and Porky's 2 and Porky's 3, whatever Porky's 3 is. Mm-hmm. So, just be thankful. If you're sad that this podcast has ended, just be thankful that I didn't have to resort to any of the sequels, which may be better, probably aren't, but maybe. And if you know an 11-year-old out there.
Join us on our new podcast, 90s Rewind, where we review my Walkman.
You know what? You brought me around on this. The Walkman is not the worst decision you've ever made.
Was it our friendship? Was that?
If anybody who wants to become Dan's friend now that he has one less friend, please join him on Facebook, Instagram, and all the places that he mentioned.
We can hang out, watch Porky's.
I was just watching your follower count drop in real time. All right, good night, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 80s Comedy Rewind. This podcast has been a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your life.